This thing is partially responsible for shin splints. I say partially because its counterpart, the tibialis anterior, is also responsible for shin splints. And that is because they have a very unique relationship with the tibia itself in terms of the fascia and how the epimysium of the actual muscle blends in with the periosteum. So if all of that kind of sounds like gibberish, what I'm saying is the outer surface of these muscles, so this is the tibialis posterior, blends directly with the outer wrapping of the bone itself called the periosteum. And what can happen due to the movements of these muscles is you get a fascial tractioning syndrome, which basically is where you're yanking on the periosteum and it can inflame it, and you get periostitis or shin splints, which is actually surprisingly painful because, it doesn't seem like it should be. Like the bone's not breaking, but there are a lot of nerve endings inside of the periosteum that can get irritated, and so it can become very, very painful. But this is the tibialis posterior. And in today's video, we're going to use a 100% free Kenhub article that we've gone ahead and left a link down in the description below so you can follow along at home. We're going to use this to figure out what's going on with the tibialis posterior. What are its functions, what are its attachments, everything that you could possibly need to know to help pass your exam. So this is a posterior view, but it's a deep view. And what I want to do is actually, before we get to this, I want to go over to this cross-sectional view to give you an understanding of just how deep this is. So as you can see, what we like to do in these images is we put a little like indicator as to where in the body this cross-section is occurring. So this is actually pretty close to the knee. It's towards the top of the proximal crust, but it's just below that knee. We can see the tibia, you can see the fibula, and then we can see that right in between them is the tibialis posterior. And you can see that on this side as well. So as we go back to this image, that should give you a better understanding of just how deep this muscle is. Now, what we also like to do, just to bring your awareness, is kind of show that right here. So you can see it's a medial view is what we're trying to get at here, but it's also trying to show it like it's deep. And it's at a little bit of an angle, medial view, and it's trying to show just how deep this actually is. So again, we can see the tibia, we can see the fibula, and you can see that the tibialis posterior is originating on both of those bones. So it originates on that medial posterior surface of the fibula and then on that lateral posterior surface of the tibia. But that's just the bony attachments. And there's something that's actually pretty unique about the tibialis posterior is that it also originates on the interosseous membrane. So we can't really see that here, but if we go to this cross-sectional view, I want you to picture that right in between these bones, right in between the tibia and the fibula, is going to be a membrane. Right, this is going to be a fibrous joint. This is basically you have a bunch of connective tissue that is there to help disperse and distribute energy as it's flowing between the tibia and fibula. Can you imagine like every time you are walking or running, the amount of stress that's on the bones, and that's going to need to actually dissipate and be spread throughout both bones. And the interosseous membrane is this flat piece of connective tissue that helps to do it. It also just helps keep them attached to each other, and then it also serves as an origin for the tibialis posterior down the crust. You have an interosseous membrane in your antebrachium as well. So this is going to originate on both the tibia and the fibula, as well as the interosseous membrane. And then what it's going to do is it is going to travel posterior to this right here. This is the medial malleolus. Now you can feel this on your own body, right? So if you just go down to the inside of your foot, so the medial side of your foot where your big toe is, you should have an ankle nubby, this projection. This is the medial malleolus. Now malleolus means hammer. So someone thought that this, I guess, looked like a hammer at some point. But here is the rule that I want you to just burn into your brain. This is what I teach my students to look at every single time you look at a crest muscle. And that is the location of the tendon in relation to the malleoli, because there is a lateral malleolus on the other side. So if a tendon in the crust travels posterior to a malleolus, it's going to do plantar flexion. If on the other hand, this tendon was anterior, if it was anterior to that malleolus, it would perform dorsal or dorsiflexion. Okay, so what does that look like? So again, we actually have an animation of this coming up shortly, but I want you to picture, let's put it this way. I want you to picture that this is a foot, right? So if you are going to stand on the tips of your toes, that would be plantar flexion. And then if your toes are coming up towards your nose, that would be dorsal or dorsiflexion. And so what we can see here is it's clearly traveling posterior to that malleoli, so therefore it is going to perform plantar flexion. But From there, what's going to happen is it's going to come and it's going to insert at the foot, and it inserts pretty broadly. So you can't really see it exactly too well, but it's going to insert on what is called the navicular bone, the 3 cuneiforms, and even the cuboid. It inserts on 4 out of the 7 tarsal bones. It's really broad, massive attachment on the underside. But then it's even going to go to the metatarsals, the bases of the metatarsals 2, 3, and 4, which is wild. This is really, really massive. And that's actually important because another one of its functions is it helps to support the medial longitudinal arch. So you have like 3 arches. You have a medial longitudinal arch, a lateral longitudinal arch, a transverse arch. And what these things do is help create the archway of the foot, to absolutely no surprise. And so this is really interesting because when these muscles, because tibialis posterior is just one muscle that helps support the arches and the integrity of the arches. When these arches collapse, you can have a number of foot injuries and foot dysfunctions, including flat feet. And that is exactly what can happen with the dysfunctional tibialis posterior, which is one reason why if someone, say, is going to see a physical therapist and they have flat feet, one of the things they're trying to do is strengthen the tibialis posterior in order to bring that foot into a more natural, healthy arch position. This is a very massive attachment. Now, at the same time, what we also have to understand is that it is going to affect and impact what's known as the subtalar joint. And it's, again, since it's pulling on all these bones, it's also going to cause those intertarsal joints to move. And the action that it's going to do is it's going to help lift the big toe off the ground and drive the pinky toes into the ground. And we call that inversion of the foot. So its inversion is really happening below the talus. So this right here, again, is the tibia. Then we have the fibula right here. And then right below it is the talus. And the talus forms the ankle joint with the tibia and fibula. We call that the talocrural joint, or the ankle joint. Just below the talus is the calcaneus, this massive heel bone. Well, below the talus and between the calcaneus is the subtalar joint. And what happens is this is where you'll get inversion and eversion, where basically your foot is sliding just below or inferior or distal to the actual ankle joint. And that is going to be the third function of the tibialis posterior. So we have plantar flexion because it is going behind or posterior to that medial malleolus. We have inversion because it's lifting the big toe and driving the pinky toe down. And then we're also going to see that it supports that medial longitudinal arch. Now this is also, actually we can actually scan down here and we can see that this is going to be innervated by the tibial nerve. This is another thing I absolutely love about our articles, is we like to show you as much as we possibly can and teach you as much as we possibly can about these muscles and everything they do. So again, this is 100% free. Find a link down in the description below. But this is the tibial nerve. So the tibial nerve is a splitting of the sciatic nerve. So the sciatic nerve, which is this one right here, comes down, and then in the popliteal space, it is going to bifurcate, and it becomes the the common fibular nerve or common peroneal nerve, and then also the tibial nerve, and then you can see its many offshoots. So that common fibular nerve is actually going to go around and split and go on the other side of the crust, but the tibial nerve is going to travel down and come around. And sure enough, the tibial nerve is what is going to innervate the tibialis posterior. All right. So with that, what I want to do is scan on up to the top of this article. And while this article is 100% free, we also have videos that we like to embed in these articles, but these are premium features. But I want to show you just how amazing this is. So we're going to full screen it, make sure that the sound is down, and let's go ahead and see the actions of the tibialis posterior. So again, we saw inversion. So now you can see that happening. And I just want to kind of like highlight what we're looking at here, because here again, you can see the tibia, you can see the fibula, and then this bone right here is the talus. The talus forms that talocrural joint or the ankle joint, but what we're really looking at is below the talus in what is known as the subtalar joint. So I'm going to rewind this just a teeny little bit, and we can see this again now that you know what you're looking for. I want you to again watch where this movement is happening when it shows inversion, and sure enough, you can see that happening at that subtalar joint. So again, that is inversion. It's kind of like the pinky toe is being driven into the ground while that big toe is being lifted. But then we also have, because remember it goes towards that medial longitudinal arch, we can see that it supports it. So is it's going to support it and just pick it up and just create that nice, robust support. So then we also have plantar flexion, like again, you are standing on the tips of your toes because it travels behind that medial malleolus. So there you have it. Hopefully you learned something about the tibialis posterior muscle. Be sure to like this video. If you did, little things like that go a really long way. Just as a reminder that the link is down in the description below for this 100% free Kenhub article. And while you're down there, if you could leave us a comment, let us know what you'd like us to discuss in future videos. That would be much appreciated. But thanks for hanging out with me, and I will see you in the next one.